3, 2, 1. Welcome back to the Mark Moses Show, only right here on the brand new Sports Radio 1560 The Fan. And joining me right now here on the Club 52 hotline to talk all things NBA Finals, good friend of mine from Vero Beach. His name is Chris Pirtle, and his blog is The Ultimate NBA Insider. We got much to discuss with the series tied 1-1. Chris, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing great, Mark. Not exactly happy with the outcome of last night's game, but it was certainly entertaining.
You know what's funny is I think you sent me an email at like midnight, and you're like, yeah, that was entertaining. That was pretty good. How good was it last night? Come on, break it down. Even though your team lost, how good of a game was that last night?
Well, that was as good as anything I've seen since 2013 when Miami and San Antonio had a great 7-game series 2 years ago. So that was excellent. You know, Mark, on a night where I look at some of the statistics here, and had I not known what the outcome is already, I look at Steph Curry only shooting 22%. I look at Draymond Green not getting his first points until the fourth quarter, and only finishing with 2 buckets, and Andrew Bogut only scoring 2 points. I would think that the Cavs would have won this by double digits, and that's not what we had at all last night.
How about the referees? And I know it's cliche radio, but were they just all over the place with some of these calls?
They certainly were. It looked like at certain points of the game in the third and early fourth quarter, LeBron James seemed to be getting some favorable calls, and then quite the opposite happened in the fourth quarter and overtime. So, yeah, they were all over the place and then some.
Explain to me Dellavedova, because I think this is going to turn into a Disney story. He's been phenomenal. For what he does, I think he's been great for Cleveland.
He's been unbelievable. Who would have thought that Steph Curry would have come out and shot 22% last night? And if you have to ask yourself, why did that happen? I don't think you have to look any further than Matthew Dellavedova. Awesome effort by Dellavedova last night. Only scored 3 baskets on 10 points, but he hit clutch free throws and he hit clutch baskets down the stretch. So I liked his defense and I liked his offense in clutch times last night.
All right, here's the next question then. We're here with Chris Pirtle. Ultimate NBA Insider is his website. Chris Pirtle 42 on the Twitter as well if you want to follow him. How many offensive plays do the Cavaliers actually have? 2? 3? What do they run exactly?
Well, first thing is to get it to LeBron James. If he didn't get the rebound, which he may have, he had 16 of those last night. So first get it to LeBron James and let him see what's going to go on the floor. And, yeah, whether they've got 2 or 3 plays that he's going to run, I really don't know. But I know this. You get it to number 23 and let him make the decisions. And most of the time, he's going to steer you in the right direction.
Is this what all-timer performances in the finals we're going to get here from LeBron? Because he's been fantastic. He's the whole team. What do you think, man?
You know what? He just continues to amaze, Mark. I remember talking to you last week and mentioning that we'll probably never see a performance like we saw from LeBron James in Game 3 of the Eastern Conference Finals. And then look what happened last night. We saw a performance like we saw in Game 3 of the Eastern Conference Finals. So I don't want to say it can't happen again. This guy's capable of showing us a couple more performances like this. And I'll tell you what, Mark, if the Cavs want to win this series, that's exactly what's going to have to happen for them.
Okay, explain to me J.R. Smith then. Is he the opposite side where he's trying to lose the games for the Cavaliers? Because that's what it feels like.
Well, as we know, Mark, I think everybody knows that's watched J.R. Smith over the last 5 to 7 years, knows that there's going to be some bonehead decisions at times. And last night we certainly saw 2 of those at a terrible time for the Cavs, and it could have cost them the game. They only won this game by 2 points in overtime. So J.R. Smith has to limit those moves. He played 38 minutes last night, so he's playing more than he's ever played, especially in games that matter like this. And the last thing they can have are bonehead decisions.
I don't understand Mozgov because he plays well, but then he didn't really play in the fourth quarter or overtime. Is that just a matchup problem where they got to go small with Cleveland? I mean, what is it exactly?
Yeah, I think, after shutting down Curry most of the night last night, you may have to go a little bit smaller. And Mozgov, he certainly won the center matchup with Bogut last night. He had 17 points, and Bogut only had 2. So I think that, and Mozgov looked like he was pretty tired last night. That might have had something to do with it. When it came overtime, he might not have had too much left in the tank. But I think you're right, Mark. I think you've got to get a little bit smaller at times and that's what's going to help shut down Curry, and it worked for him.
All right, now I'm really confused because we're here with Chris Pirtle, Ultimate NBA Insider, with his blog. Here's what's so funny. You talk about Green, you talk about Bogut, they only score a couple buckets. The MVP shoots terribly, but they're still in overtime with a chance to go up 2-0. Who actually did score for the Warriors last night?
Well, yeah, Klay Thompson was the man for the Warriors last night. He had 34 points, and had that not been the case, this probably would have been a double-digit blowout by the Cavs. And yeah, like you said, Mark, when you see those types of numbers by Curry, Green, and Bogut, you would have thought the Cavs would have won this by double digits last night. So there's definitely some silver lining for the Warriors. In my opinion, Steve Kerr, he could be the smartest man in the world, and he's going to have some good coaching strategies for the Warriors when they go on the road. They're 5-2 in the playoffs on the road. They're the same team that beat the Houston Rockets by 35 points in Houston 2 weeks ago. So I think there's a silver lining in this game for the Warriors, and this series is far from over.
All right, moving forward with Tuesday night Game 3 in Cleveland, how about Harrison Barnes and Iguodala? Because I noticed Kerr, he goes to Iguodala because of the veteran leadership there. What would you do? Would you keep playing Iguodala much, or would you go back to Barnes a little?
Well, last night, if you look at the minutes, both of those guys were in the game a lot at the same time. And I think that's pretty much a smart move by Steve Kerr. Harrison Barnes, he only had 11 points last night, but he's not known for his offense. He's in there for defense, setting screens, and setting screens is going to be a huge key in these next two games in order to get Curry open. So I think there's a method to the madness with having Iguodala and Barnes in the game at the same time. It almost worked for him last night on a game, like we said last night, Curry only shot 22%. So I think Steve Kerr's on to something like that. And I think that's actually a pretty smart move.
We're with Chris Pirtle, Ultimate NBA Insider is his website, talking about the NBA Finals. You go to Cleveland, I feel like it's going to be overwhelming for the Warriors at first. I have that feeling. You had that in Golden State Game 1. I feel like Cleveland's going to be rocking and rolling. How hard of a test do you think this is going to be for the Warriors the next two nights?
It's going to be extremely difficult. But I also want to remind everyone, in round 2 this year, the Warriors found themselves down 2-1 with a pivotal Game 4 in Memphis. And that's about as tough a place to play as anywhere. And if you look at that Memphis roster, compared to what Cleveland has on their roster, you can make a serious case that Memphis actually has more talent than the Cleveland Cavs. So I guess what I'm trying to say is the Warriors have done this year in the playoffs. Luckily, they've been there. I think that experience from that series should help them in an effort to get at least one of these games in Cleveland. So I expect two very competitive games in Cleveland, very similar to the one that we saw in Oakland the first two nights. Will they both go to overtime? I seriously doubt it. That was the first time that's ever happened in the NBA Finals, where the first two games went to overtime. But I certainly expect both of them to be competitive.
Chris, I can't believe that stat. I've been watching basketball my whole life. I never thought that's a stat where we've never had that before with the overtimes.
Yeah, well, I was thinking last night when I saw the game getting ready to go into overtime, when Curry hit that layup and then James missed and it went into overtime, I thought to myself, Mark, I've been watching for at least 25 years. I've been watching pretty thoroughly, and I couldn't remember that happening, and then it got confirmed that was the first time that has happened. Now, 2 years ago, when the Spurs played the Heat in the finals, at least two of those games went to overtime, but it wasn't Game 1 and Game 2, so it's certainly exciting to see that, though. It makes the game that much more interesting.
All right, going back to the Cavaliers, LeBron's going to get his 35 in the triple-double, which is mind-boggling. Who's got to be the second option? You don't have Kyrie Irving. Who on the Cavaliers has to step up and at least get 20 on the board for the Cavaliers to try to win these games?
I think Mozgov does. I think when the stat I cited earlier with Mozgov scoring 17 and Bogut only scoring 2, I think that's huge. The Warriors are only 9-6 when Andrew Bogut doesn't play. And you could actually say Andrew Bogut really didn't play much last night. So that would make him now 9-7 when he doesn't play. This is a team that won 67 games and only lost about 10 or 12. So to go 9-6 in a certain stretch, that tells you how important Bogut is. And Bogut has to get back in this series in order for the Warriors to win this series.
Did you like LeBron, the emotion after the overtime win? Because I liked it. What about you?
I liked it, but I will say this. It was only one game. And the Cleveland Cavaliers as a franchise, another incredible stat, that was their first victory last night in the NBA Finals in franchise history. So I can actually understand the emotion, and it was a huge win. It was a huge win for the city of Cleveland, huge win for that franchise, and a huge win for LeBron James. So I certainly can't fault his emotion. And, yeah, I must say I like it too.
That's a great stat. I forgot about that because we're so used to the Lakers, the Bulls, the Celtics, the Spurs. They won titles, but that was the first one ever for Cleveland in the finals. That's an incredible stat, Chris.
Well, Mark, if I'm going to call myself the ultimate NBA insider, I need to bring some good stats to the table on our segments here. So that's the least I can do is bring you some good stats. And I agree, that is an incredible statistic. Exciting for the city of Cleveland. And exciting for LeBron James.
Yeah, see, I get confused because this is 5 in a row for LeBron, but he was on Miami. It gets very confusing in my head. But his name is Chris Pirtle, Ultimate NBA Insider. Chris, thank you so much. Enjoy the game, and I hope I can get you on again. All right, man?
You got it, Mark. Have a great one.